Today, I welcome Yasmine Mahmoudieh to Shift Happens. And we've known each other for a very long time from the old Berlin days, but it's been forever, like totally forever, that we've been personally in touch. And of course, I followed your stunning, stellar career over the years. And yeah, welcome. I'm excited that we have the time to have a conversation today.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm also very excited to have an opportunity, after so many years to talk to you again.
Yes. So before we get into the shifts and the pivots that we are talking about in general on Shift Happens, I have a few questions for you. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
For me, the idea of perfect happiness is if your mind, body, and soul is in harmony. And I think we have to equalize a lot of different things in our life. And if we have an exciting life where there's a lot of travel and a lot of different inspirations, we have to make sure that there's something in us that keeps being taken care of, and that we also, I think for me it's also the awareness of exactly enjoying every moment in my life and appreciating, which for me, I'm sure for you it's the same, having wonderful children, having a very fulfilling job, and being very blessed and very grateful for the opportunity that I have. And I think it's very important to have gratitude. I learned this more and more. I mean, I did learn it already because, I lived 10 years in California and I was always very interested in spirituality. But as you grow older, I think it becomes even more, more important to really focus on the essence of life and the important things.
Yeah. Well said. What do you most value in your friends?
Well, I think the most thing I value in my friends is that it's to be there for each other, and in good and in bad times. I mean, life is never a straight line up. It has ups and downs, and I think it's even because I have lived in many different countries as you have, and different cities, and so you don't have this kind of nucleus like some people have all your life. Your best friend is next to you. I don't have that. Sometimes it's bad, because you miss this. But on the other hand, if you keep in touch with them, and there has been a level of closeness that you feel you can, you haven't seen each other for a while, and you continue like where you left off when you had last seen each other. I think that's the beautiful of life. If you're more adventurous in life and you want to explore more and you're curious as I am, there's some kind of drawback to have this kind of like very steady environment that you have when you are always at the same place. But for me, it's the beauty to see that even distance doesn't separate you, and that you still have things to share, and you're there for each other. And in important moments, you're always there.
Yeah. What is your most treasured possession?
Possession, if we're talking about, like I said before, for me, the grateful I'm for to have two wonderful children. That's, if you can call it possession. Maybe that's not the right word, but it's definitely, one of the things, again, treasures or, things in life I'm very grateful for. And for me, it's my freedom. It's really, I think for me, it's freedom. That I can really choose to live where I want to live, that I have a work that I can work globally, that I'm not fixed in a place and have to deal with it. That would, for me, a bit like a prison. So my freedom is my biggest possession. I think that's most treasure I have.
And what is your greatest fear?
Well, I think I've been working a lot. The fears come and go, and they're always in your mind somehow. I think that we have to master our mind and our subconscious, and more the subconscious mind to, I think I'm not really a fearful person. I'm more than hoping. I'm working on being able, even I really like the idea of longevity and living a very long life, but with health span. So I'm very interested in longevity and biohacking myself, so that I can, I think that I can do as much as I can do in order to keep very healthy and very fit, at an older age later on, and enjoy longer, our physical, beings in this world. So, but I'm not really fearful in the sense that I have like one big fear. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And last question, what would you come back as?
You mean in a different life?
Mm-hmm.
If I would
in a different
come
life,
back?
yes.
I think, when I look at my life, I have really done what I wanted to do. There are always some things that you consider, you would have done differently. I started my own company very early, and I just jumped into everything. And I think I would have spent more time on learning some other skills that I haven't learned in this lifetime. But I don't, I don't see that I don't have this feeling that I wish, in the next life, I will have all this amazing. I accept. I think there's a reason for what we are doing and why we are here, and we have to find the reason why, our purpose. And I think if you have a purpose, you will never think about, is there any other way I could have, lived this life? And if I come back, there will be a different, a different purpose, a different challenge. But I'm more focused on my life on Earth now.
Good. And yes, and we are benefiting from this because for you, really, the major topic is sustainability, and yeah. So I'm really curious if you could explore this pivotal moment that happened to you, and yeah. And then I want to know later why particularly that moment.
Well, I've been always interested and curious in pushing boundaries and having more than just, aesthetics as an architect and designer, creating beauty and, aesthetically interesting places, but to see what's the purpose behind. How can I make life better? I see me as an architect for life, because we are creating spaces that human beings are living in. And I always say that's the difference between applied arts and liberal arts, is that applied arts, you have to live with it. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do something, you like it or you don't like it. It has to, address feelings, emotions, and you have to make people really blossom and love where they live and where they work, and everything like that. But then I think we are like a little part of a bigger picture, which is the universe, and it's the Earth. And I remember still when I was in Germany in high school, I think I was really young, in the fourth or something. I had a geography teacher who was saying, in 50 years, there's going to be a major problem in the world with the climate. And this is literally when I was like 9 years old or 10 years old. And he was giving us a very gloomy picture of the world. And, at that time, I think back sometimes about it, because it was so far away from anything, at that time. And then that was I think my first experience where I have a flashback looking at what's happening with the world today. And then what happened is that I was in Greece, which I really like a lot, and I've been going there forever. And I was swimming in the ocean. This is already 10, 15 more years ago, and finding this plastic being stick to rocks and diving a bit under the sea and finding a lot of plastic, which really shocked me and also gave me the awareness that it's there. It's just invisible because it's in the water, it's under the water. And even before that, I have always researched materials and design architecture which are sustainable, because I always felt that we are producing a lot as architects and designers in the world, I mean, massive square meters of buildings, of cities, of villages all over the world. And there must be some drawback. There must be something that can't be that good. And the whole idea of the CO2 emissions coming from the building industry and, from many other industry like fashion is something that I really studied. And I also try to understand what is happening with circular economy and embodied carbon. What are all the effects? So that was something that, kind of interested me, because I saw that it's going to be a danger in the future, much earlier than many people were, looking at it. I mean, it's only in the recent years that there is this huge, awareness, and it's always been there, to be honest. We should have looked at it much earlier, but the awakening was very late. And for me, it was quite early, I have to say.
So, and this moment in the Aegean Sea was so striking for you to shift your focus in your career, or really focus more on sustainability and materials? And why particularly there? I mean, we have plastic and garbage and things, waste lying around everywhere, even already 20 years ago.
It's everywhere, but when you go to a beautiful island and you are in this natural environment, where it looks also, perfect, and the sea and the weather and the sun and beautiful beaches, you feel that this is untouched and this is still pure beauty. And then you realize that's not what meets the eye, so that was the shock for me. And then we have also friends that the daughter, she's really almost an activist, and she does go underwater, and she does take this and tries to clean it. Instead of swimming and having fun, she tries to, in the time that she's swimming, cleaning up and bring things back to the shore. And for me, it was just so shocking when I then did research with my team on how much plastic waste we have all over the world, and then to see how they, put all this plastic into Thailand, into some third world countries where they get paid a lot of money to just dump it there. And then I was also at a dinner in Berlin, to be honest, 15, 20 years ago almost, where there was somebody from South America, from a very known German family, and he was saying that there are these areas in the ocean that are plastic. They're just plastic filled. And as much as you meet the eye, I mean, everywhere. And it's only because you don't have it in front of you every day, it doesn't make it disappear. So that, like you said, I have to say, in the UK, in the school of my children, they're very much made aware of plastic. And they were very, from small on, you shouldn't go with plastic to the supermarket, or we should have something else. So there was a lot of education, I mean, I have to say. And I felt that plastic is one of the big problems that we have. And then I came to this, it's not that it changed, but it's an additional part of looking into 3D printing of recycled plastic, which I really started a bit before the pandemic, but seriously during the pandemic, when I was having time off from other things that kind of fell through, because of the pandemic.
3D printing of plastic, or with plastic? Okay, so explain this to me, and I'm like someone, I have no idea about anything.
Yes,
sadly.
So practically, I'm working with either charities or startups who work either with the charities who clean the ocean. And it's not only the ocean, the plastic comes from, I mean, you can't imagine how much plastic is now after COVID. All the PPI, it's all plastic, that was used, and all the medical trace from everything. So you have different sort of plastic, and there are, like, fortunately, some startups, they do filaments from it. So they process it, take out the toxins. I'm working with particular one in Amsterdam, and then they make it in filaments that you can use it for 3D printing. And 3D printing is the purest way of, because you have no waste, you just print exactly the element that you designed that it's going to be printed. So I thought that this is an amazing way to get rid of the plastics, because only 9% of all the plastic we produce in the world is being recycled, which means that 91%, and you can imagine, I mean, I'm always shocked when I go shopping. Just in one day, you know, I have plastic filled because everything is in plastic. Every fruit, every vegetable, everything is packaged in plastic. So it's amazing if you think how many billion people we are in the world and we all receive this. It's really terrifying. And I think the problem with plastic is you can't just make it disappear. You should substitute it, which you know, is another subject we can talk about. But then with what you already have, if you repurpose it in architecture and design, you can take tons of plastic and reproduce it for architecture. And this is, you know, what I've been trying to show in my exhibitions, like the one in Basel, the Design Miami exhibition.
Fascinating. So, and I also read that you, probably as a consequence of this realization about plastic and materials, that you started a library
Yes.
of different materials. And is it like a physical space, or is it more virtual? And how do people and companies get access to it?
Well,
do they each have their library card?
It's I will tell you, it's an interesting project of mine now. So what happened is that I used to have a physical library in London, but then when the pandemic hit and we left our office because the office was completely, couldn't go to the office, it was closed. So then we dissolved the physical and we said we just do it all online, you know, because we can't go any place to show it to anyone or have anything. So it's I used to have for 2 years a person hired in my office that was doing nothing else than to research sustainable materials all over the world. So literally she was, you know, looking into the whole world, because when you work global, I said it would be great to know what's the local sustainable materials when you work in a different country. You know, you don't want to transport something from America to Europe, for example. So that's how we started. And now we have 300 plus materials. What I'm going to do actually to make it feasible is by the end of the year, we're going to launch a marketplace for sustainable materials, where on one hand, we have all these amazing producers, which is you know, for me, a marketplace is the most democratizing concept that you can have, because you give a voice to small companies too, which I never found. And to be honest, even some of the bigger ones are very hard to find. We're too many people, there's too many things on the Google. And you know that, you know, these very big companies, they buy all the first pages. So you end up being not seen. So the idea is to make them visible on a platform, and then to have the idea that, you know, you can find the materials on a, I call it like the booking.com of materials. This is what we're going to launch, and to make it available for really everyone.
So who would be a customer? And why would they be a customer? Like what could they buy for what? For doing what with it?
We would probably start from B2B first, because if you think about all the big construction companies, all the big developers, all the buildings that are being built on a daily basis, 8% of the CO2 in the world comes from concrete. So concrete is the most harmful material in the world. And, you know, it used to be the cool material for architects to use for floors, for walls, for furniture. It's actually terrible damaging. So we have done a lot of research on alternatives. So we have now alternative materials to replace concrete. It's not one, because concrete does have a lot of function. It's not one for exactly everything, but there are different applications. And there are also more and more companies looking into alternatives for concrete and totally understanding that sustainability is a big problem with concrete. So if you imagine we are being able to help developers or construction companies or even architects when they specify a project to go on our site, find, you know, what is the use for it, what's the price, everything in one site, easy to find, easy to manage, and then just order over our site to these companies that they wouldn't even know, and have it all organized in one site. And the same thing is, you know, like for the small companies, they have a possibility to be found for bigger projects and can grow more because, you know, there's somebody that's being aware of them.
So it seems that you really are driven in this and an unstoppable motor?
I really am very passionate about it because when we talk about purpose, I really hope that I can, that I can use my lifetime in a way to ignite a change. And I think if anybody thinks about in their profession, whatever they're doing, there's something I'm sure everybody can do. And for me, because 40% of CO2 in the world comes from construction industry. So we are in a, I'm working in a field that is very much responsible for the climate damage. And it's about sharing the knowledge, getting awareness. I mean, when I'm invited to many talks around the world to talk about this is my mission, to not only get awareness, but to also show tangible solutions to say we don't need to use this. We can build differently. We have in our library materials that can clean the air, can take the pollutants away, can take the allergens away. We work with rhubarb leather, cactus leather, apple leather, coming from the skin of apple. So we have done some amazing materials, and I could go on and on and on, and they are so interesting. And sadly, when I go to other events or talks with many international, also known designers, there's not that much knowledge, and they are not applying it. And I think we all have to do the research. We did it maybe extremely because I found it so important, but I hope that I can ignite, a change in the world by making awareness that we have to build differently. We have to. It's not an option to be sustainable. It's a must, and it's actually becoming also more difficult with all the regulations, also in Europe. So it is also financially, deadly if you don't do it now, because people will be taken over by surprise by carbon tax. And also there's, I'm lecturing also at conferences, especially hospitality, showing how you can increase your ROI through sustainability, because there's a misconception that it costs more, we can't afford it, which is not true. It's absolutely true. It's just ignorance. Ignorance is the problem.
Yeah, so I know you are also a lecturer at university and the hotel school in Lausanne, I think, right?
Yeah, I was teaching 10 years at the hotel school in Lausanne. Now I'm teaching at the Institut Paul Bocuse in Lyon and Paris, and I'm also a mentor at the Royal College of Art in London.
Fabulous. And when you are working with the young people, how do you feel is their approach to this, to the necessity of a sustainable lifestyle, starting with properly separating your garbage?
Yes, and they are very sensibilized, and they are very interested, and they're almost like shocked that they didn't know about it before. I mean, my class at Institut Paul Bocuse, which is now mainly in Paris, the students are, it's shifted, it was about architecture, design, new concepts, and this. Now it's becoming more and more just sustainability, because they have no idea, nobody's teaching it. So even the restaurant people, because the Paul Bocuse has the hotel management school, but also the restaurant, obviously, one of the finest education. And I make them into groups, and I let them be very creative to come up with new concepts, with considering countryside and what can they do with organic food, and how can, even the menu is influenced by it, but also what do you do with waste products? We have, for example, we work with food waste for tableware, because there are companies who are using food waste to create tableware. And they're very interested when they find these things that they didn't know exist. So I have a very close relationship to the students who usually contact me afterwards, after my lectures, because they are so curious to find out more. And I think they are, the younger generation is much more sensitive and understanding that they have to do something, and they are more worried, rightfully so. So it is. They're very much cooperative, and they're totally excited to be in that space and coming up with, creative solutions, how to build differently, how to have food differently, what to do with all this waste Or, you know, when I talk about restaurants, I'm talking often so many restaurants, as we know, fail in the, you know, sadly in the first year, there's a very high failure rate. But you can buy that furniture, you can recycle what they have. You don't need to redo everything. You can just reuse it, you know, this kind of circular economy, trying to see what's left over and be creative and redo something new with it. Or so don't just buy new furniture, you know, just think about how you can reuse a lot of things. And it's about knowing the sources, how to find it, and creativity. You know, it's part of creativity to reinvent it.
Yeah, well, that's truly hopeful that the younger generation is taking this seriously, because it's on them, right, to take it into the future and to all be an advocate for this. So what I wanted to also know from you, so you're traveling a lot, you're everywhere, you're very involved. And what is your way to relax?
I don't have, my life has never been, this is my work life and this is my private life. How many professions are, you know, because I love art. I go to art exhibitions. I meet interesting artists all around the world. You know, it is to me, there's a kind of a flow between the two. For me, relaxing is nature. I mean, I do have the need to go a lot into beautiful nature. And I have usually done every year a few trips that are very important, and also with the kids, like memorable. So I went, you know, I mean, this year I had to give a keynote speech in Shanghai. So I took my son, you know, during Easter vacation to come with me to Shanghai. But we went also outside Shanghai to these water cities and did some hikes there, and discovered really, you know, real Chinese kind of villages. But we did in the summer last year, we went to Wim Hof, to the Iceman, which I totally admire and became friends with. And we went a week to the Pyrenees to, you know, to do this retreat. I went the year before to the Camino de Santiago for 160 kilometers with my son, the last 160 kilometers. We've been to Iceland, discovering, you know, I love hiking. I love sports. You know, we've been many times to tennis camps in France and in Italy. So for me, sports, nature, that is very relaxing. And I'm, you know, I do a bit of meditation and would like to do more, which I think I will do when, you know, my son is now also going his university career, that I would do more in that field, which I'm very interested in.
Yeah, because
I'm doing every day since 3 years, I'm doing every day the Wim Hof breathing in the morning, every day, and the cold shower for 3 years.
Great. Yeah, so, I've been doing the cold shower also now for 1 year. I think it's good. It's nice. I used to do it as a child. I mean, like there was no way around it. That's what we had to do as kids. Yeah. Yes. And but I picked it up again. It's a good hack.
Yeah, it is.
And I guess then I don't have to ask you how you get energy, because I'm sure you seem so driven that there's no lack of that.
Well, I think that, you know, as a creative, you always have too many ideas. You have more ideas than you. I mean, I don't know what boredom is, I have to say. I always think my lifetime will be not long enough for all my interests. And sometimes it's a problem because you have to focus. So you know, I have sometimes people that kind of focus me and say, okay, you can do also A, B, C, D, E, but let's concentrate on these things. But I think especially when you travel and when you see the world, you get so inspired, and it can be from totally different areas. You know, you just see something because you are looking at the world. As an architect and designer, you always look into shape and color and sunlight and nature and you know, everything, and how people live. the cultures are so different. There's different things, and what is it that you take from another culture into your own culture? What is it, what you can't, what doesn't fit? So there's always kind of an analysis in a certain way about understanding different life forms, and why is this our life? It's only one life we're living, because we are grown up in this surrounding. And I find it so exciting to go to different cultures and understand how those people grew up and lived, and you combine this when you work internationally as a designer or architect. You have the chance to go to other countries to understand I mean, that's what a good architect or designer should do, to really dig into the different kind of traditions and history, and what makes the place different. If you go to Japan, it's totally different. The culture of how you live, how you eat, what you eat, and I'm really extremely interested in that. And as I told you before, I'm very interested in longevity, and I've been following Dan Bittner for a very long time from the Blue Zones, and had also connected to him, but he just had sold the company to someone. But the idea that the Blue Zones are such an amazing example of how you can live naturally, and what are the ingredients, coming back to the purpose of life, and there are some very simple things that you can identify in all the different areas that he identified as the places where people, centennials, are in a high amount of numbers. And,
yes, it's very impressive. Yeah. No, it's something one can always go back to again and again, because there's it's very inspiring. Just also to see the faces of these many centennials, so to speak. Yeah, there's something special about them. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, maybe you saw the Netflix. Did you see the Netflix series?
I did see the
They all
Netflix
have,
series.
they all look happy. I mean, they all have a smile on their face, and it shows you it doesn't have really to do with prosperity. It has to do with inner contentment. And I loved also the scene I think in Okinawa, where they have this Maui, when somebody needs help, they help each other. There's this network of these women who are, I think it's amazing.
Yes. No, I thought that was impressive, but also the laughter. I mean, they were having such fun. Yeah. I was really envious.
Yeah. No, they were fun. And it makes you, I think it's good to see this, and to think about it more often, and to really stop. I think we all have to stop. I mean, even I'm very busy, as you know. I do stop. I do stop more and more. I take, especially when you travel and when you're in a plane or somewhere in a train, or you're by yourself, you have a lot of time. I never watch TV or or movies. I usually really kind of let my mind go and wander and reflect. It's good to get outside yourself, to reflect about your life and what you're doing, and and what you want to do, and and I think to take every moment very precious, and to reconsider, is this what you really, how you want to spend your life, and what are this, and then you these people, like you said, and you see their amazing happiness in their faces, and the community that's so close to each other.
So I would like to know what's next for you, or and what's your vision. I mean, you are an architect. You create, you build, you teach, and what is your most important mission, or most, what's the next step for you in all this?
The next step is to have my own climate positive retreat hotel brand. So I've been working on this for quite some time now on the side. And then again, when the pandemic hit, I've been taking more time. So practically, I developed a concept. It's a kind of a climate positive, sustainable retreat outside city centers, but it's a combination of hotel rooms and cottages that one would sell and lease back to the hotel, but they're all small. They're like 60 to 120 square meter. It's about sharing economy. It's about a community. It's about like-minded people and across the world. And it's really about, I mean, beyond the normal hotel experience. When we were talking in the last decades, people were always talking about the experience society, and you have to go to a hotel to experience something. And I'm talking about a transformation. For me, it's one step higher than experience, but it's to transform you into a better human being. And this is coming back to what I said, mind, body, soul. So if you can imagine, you go to these places around the world where you meet like-minded people who all have similar interests, can be from very different backgrounds. And then it also has to have, the offerings that we will have will be like having weeks of poetry or writers or tech entrepreneurs, also longevity expert, charades, startups. So I call it sometimes Amman meets Soho House, only to give a bit of an analogy, saying Amman is more luxury than Soho House, but it can also be very boring and you're very alone. It's like you're not talking to people. It's too heavy. It's like too much, and then a Soho House is for very young, and it started to be very selective with musicians and producers and actors and, architects, creatives, but that's it. So I'm thinking there's something in the middle that is, for people that really understand that a hotel can be an amazing experience to meet. And, we're talking about these meetings like the World Economic Forum in Davos, where everybody is totally hyped to go. And why does this have to be an event once a year? Why not having places around the world which have the same energy and bring the same people together with a mission? So I'm also in a moment looking for mission-driven investors. I don't want any investor. We have now interest already. We are looking into people who understand that there is a bigger purpose behind. So it's about a purpose-driven brand. As much as it can be financially successful, it doesn't exclude at all.
Nee,
but
exactly.
for these people to understand, this is very important, that you have the purpose in it, and with an organic farm and having local culture integrated, local people, in not taking the shrimps from Thailand because you want to have shrimps in a place where you don't have it, but having, this is an austere luxury, which is more close to nature, and where there's a lot of creativity and, arts and crafts and things happening. And it's funny, because when you start with this, suddenly you meet people. It's like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I'm starting to meet on LinkedIn, and then also in real life, people that are, I'm just talked to somebody who's like also has been an ex-investment banker, creating this amazing new world, almost like village, outside Lisbon. My idea is that it could be outside Lisbon, outside Paris, outside New York. It's a global brand, what I want to create. And I think there's a need for it. There's a need for something which has more meaning and is more purposeful, and not just another, at the moment we see all these big brands, it's about numbers. Or we open every day a hotel around the world. So what does it mean? Nothing. It's a copycat of another copycat of another copycat. And I think that now design is not anymore special, because the design is just copied from here. You don't know where you are. For me, you have to really get a feeling where you are when you're in a hotel. I think this project brings my whole life experience together. That's kind of how it's. And as I've been, as you know, teaching and being on the board of hotel brands, I have also the contacts to get people to manage it, for operations. So I can set up the whole team. It's beyond architecture. It's, it's being a bit like a developer myself. And I'm looking for the investors that understand and would like to use the kind of, places that I want to create.
Fabulous. I mean, I guess I won't be an investor, but I will be a guest for sure. I can bring my salons.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what the idea is, that it will be. And the idea is also that it's not, I mean, it is going to be an upscale, but it's not like the limit, because like I said, the cottages will be 60 to 120. I know a lot of friends who said, oh, when you have this, I'm going to want to buy one of them. And then it's sharing economy. You give it back into the pool. So if you're not there,
Mhm.
it's not empty. Other people can take, advantage of it, which is
Yeah.
the next generation. We're talking about self-driving cars. Everything is changing in the world. And, I'm always somebody looking into the future before the future is there. I'm really excited. I mean, we're working also on the metaverse. So my hotel will be also in the metaverse, the brand. So,
Mhm.
people don't understand the metaverse. I'm very interested in technology and in augmented reality. I've done exhibitions with this. We are going to do an exhibition next week in the Furniture Salon del Mobile. And one of my 3D printed chairs has also an NFC chip inside connected to the blockchain. It's for authenticity, but also to give information about the chair. And then we will do an augmented reality installation where practically over a QR code, you will be able to touch and you can see my chair in different colors, although it's only one color physically there over your phone. We will also have the Questex visory, and you can take the chair, move it around in the virtual world, and you will have an experience beyond this. And the whole thing again has a mission, because you will see like the water coming over and over into the space where we are, and water bottles, and they turn into my furniture. So it's about taking this also as an experiment, and a messenger, always as a messenger.
Beautiful. I hope it's being picked up and we can all see it somewhere on some channel
Yes,
and some stream.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, Yasmine, that was really like a whirlwind of thoughts into the future. This is so really fascinating. We could go on forever, I think, but
Yes, I do enjoy talking too.
this is really fascinating. But for now, I really thank you a lot for also this push to just be more mindful, and also not only in the present moment mindful, but also take it into the future in each of our own futures. Sustainability and how we all, need to take care of our planet.